Meeting to order. Minutes reflect all members present with the exception of Manager Bradley with prior notice. So knowing that he's not here, we have to appoint a temporary secretary. We have a nomination.
I nominate Manager Hockey.
Second.
And I'll have two titles.
Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the next thing is to set the agenda. Nick?
President Preiner, staff would like to amend the agenda to include a short discussion on permit 16107. Perhaps a new number 4.
Okay. And 4 will become 5. Okay, anybody else?
What was the permit number again, please?
16107.
Thank you.
Okay. Madam Chair, I would like to make a motion that we accept the agenda as amended.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Okay, the first thing is July 10th, regular meeting.
Yes.
What?
President Preiner, I'd just note to the board that this was one that you tabled previously, so it has a little bit of unique parliamentary procedure. You should just have a motion to remove it from the table, then look for a motion to amend the previous motion that was tabled to reflect the updated minutes. And then
Okay,
look for
I make a
closing.
motion that we remove from the table.
July
the-
10th, regular meeting.
The minutes from July 10th that we
Second.
had tabled
Motion made and
previously.
seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Boy, am I glad you did that.
Now,
It's so much better.
okay, now it's before us now, right?
Oh,
Okay,
And so the history at that time was a motion to approve, but now we need to amend that historic motion for the amendments if, to consider them.
okay. I make a motion that we amend the motion that was made to table,
on July 10th.
To approve the minutes as amended.
to approve the minutes as amended.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
And now a motion to approve. Is that
I'm
correct,
so
Lois?
glad you've got Lewis there on your
Yeah,
right-hand
yeah.
side. I now make a motion that we approve the July 10th of 2019 minutes.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Further discussion? Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay,
Thank you.
go ahead on the,
Madam President, I move to approve the July 22nd, 2019 workshop minutes.
Second.
motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Madam President, I move to approve the July 24th, 2019 regular meeting minutes.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And Madam President, I move to approve the August 7th, 2019 special meeting minutes.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion?
Yes.
President
There is.
Prender, just for clarity in the record, we do need to adjust the header to reflect it was a special meeting and the date changed to the August 7th at the heading of the minutes itself. And
Okay.
then additionally,
So that's the correction in the minutes.
it's, as they're
As the header.
presented, the date is not reflective of the correct date.
Okay.
It was a special, okay, I see what you're, oh, I'm on page 21, right?
Look on page 22,
22,
Of the
up on
packet,
top. It
top of
says
the page.
July 24th, change that.
right, and add the word special instead of regular.
Oh, yes, okay. That's such small writing, who was gonna see that?
And
Go
then,
for it.
You go
The
for it.
date,
August 7th.
the date, August 7th.
yes, President Preiner, line 51, it says,
Project
near the
name.
end, it says, complied. I think it's supposed to be compiled.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Okay.
And on page 24 of the packet, line 136. 24 of the packet, line 136, it says distributed, past tense. I think the D should be cut.
Distribute.
Nothing further.
Okay, I make a motion that we approve the special meeting minutes of the Board of Managers dated August 7th, 2019, with the corrections that were just specified on page 22. The very top would have a special inserted, a special board meeting. It'll have the date of August 7th, 2019. On line 51 would be have compiled. And on page 24, 136, it'll say distribute instead of distributed with a D. Those corrections.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Got it. Consent agenda. Barbara?
Oh, yeah. Thank you very much.
No, actually, we're going to go to Nick. Just kidding.
Thank you. As you know, both the items, this one and the following one, are on consent agenda. And to your sense of humor, staff isn't jumping up to talk about them because you could just motion to have them pass. Anyways, staff has nothing to add or change from what's presented in the packet.
Okay. Just a one, and thank you very much. Number 19-064. I just want to say, anybody look at page 34. This particular development is being in an area in the city of Mounds View. And you could notice the underground holding areas for the water that'll be coming off the impervious surface in the parking lot. Just want to let you know that this has been, I think, a very complicated site, and one that is, there had no other place to have any of the water held or drainage because it's filling up the whole parcel pretty much. I'm just going to ask Chris, the engineers, this capacity of what's going to be done with this storage under the parking lot, this is going to be able to contain all the water that's running off and let it go off at a rate that is obviously not going to flood anything downstream. How much does that contain of a good 2-inch rain or whatever?
Madam President, Manager Hockey. So, on page 31 of the packet, we have a listing of the stormwater treatment of each one of those facilities. So it, there is a total of, or a total requirement of 10,981 cubic feet required under our rules for the water quality treatment. And they are going to be exceeding that with their site. And they are meeting the district's rate control requirements. So it has been thought through to ensure that those are sized adequately to both meet water quality requirements and to meet the rate control requirements going off-site. And yeah, you said it was, indicated that it was a tricky site, and you're correct in that. It's, you know, there are always challenges when you have development like that, where you require subsurface infiltration, but it's something that's very commonly done nowadays, so it's something that engineers have had a lot of experience doing.
Absolutely, and I compliment everybody on, for the project, construction people to actually adhere to what our rules are and do something like this, because I know it's not an inexpensive cure for what you're going to do, and also for all the engineering. But who cleans this out now? Once this project done, what happens if there is some sediment or anything that has to be removed from the underground structures?
President Preiner, Manager Hockey, yes, the district does require maintenance of the facilities. It is recorded on the property. Typically, when they're underground, there is a access, if you will, manhole. And then it's done with a vacuum
Person
truck.
hole.
Person hole?
Yep.
Oh, yes.
Excuse me.
Person hole, yes.
I don't know, maybe women want to go down there.
Got to catch on that.
That's a new one.
And then they vacuum out and jet where the collection of
And
sediment
they will do
occurs.
that,
It is their
maybe-
obligation. It would be recorded on the property, correct?
and, okay, recorded, and probably will be some sort of a condo association, I assume, or whoever is going to be the owners. Okay,
Right.
just want to know. Okay,
How about-
because, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna do the motion.
Oh, that's what I was gonna do. You're cutting me off.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do that.
Because I was just gonna go right
I
to
thought you were
it.
done.
Anyway, I'd like to make a motion that we cap rock the following permits: 19-064, 19-071, 19-073.
Second?
Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Okay.
President Priner? So the next item is that second item on consent agenda. It's a water quality cost share project. Again, staff is at the ready should you have questions. Otherwise, it's been fully vetted through the policies and such that you've put into place.
Any questions? That will
No,
need a
that
motion.
was good.
Madam President, I move to approve the consent agenda for the water quality grant program. Permit number R 18-08.
R19.
Yeah, it's 19.
Isn't that what I said?
You said, I thought you said 19.
Yeah, R
You said 18?
19-08.
Oh, I was reading it as 0. Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry if I did.
No problem.
Okay.
Picky.
So we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Who was the second?
Oh, I thought it was you.
No, I just asked, I said it was instead of 18, it was 19.
Oh, okay.
Now, if you want a second, I
We
second
got a
it.
motion and a second.
I just
All-
want the recorder to know that.
All in favor?
Okay.
Aye.
Yeah, aye.
Okay, open mic. Anybody in the audience? Seeing none, we're gonna move ahead with Lauren. That's all right.
Good morning, President Priner, Board of Managers. For your consideration today is White Bear Township's local water plan. In your packets, you'll find, starting on page 99, draft resolution, an executive summary on page 101, the township's issues, starting on page 103, and then this township CIP table starting on page 108. White Bear Township submitted their local water plan to all agencies for formal agency review on July 27th of last year. The district reviewed for consistency with the district's watershed management plan and Minnesota Rules 8410 and Minnesota Statute 103B 235. And the district and Met Council submitted comments on the plan. A final draft submitted by the township on August 6th of this year sufficiently addresses the comments and is now consistent with district and state requirements. The township has identified a few water resource issues within the Rice Creek boundary, which again are starting on page 103 in your packets, and specifically sections 5.1 and 5.3. And these include water quality issues and maintenance of stormwater infrastructure. The township drains to several impaired waters and is a regulated MS4 on 4 TMDLs, including Bald Eagle Lake TMDL, Lino Lakes, Channel Lakes TMDL, the Peltier and Centerville Lake TMDL, and the Upper Mississippi River Bacteria TMDL. To improve water quality and help address these TMDLs, White Bear Township will continue to implement its stormwater management ordinance in order to reduce phosphorus loading and will enforce its animal ordinance, which includes animal waste requirements, which would specifically help address the Upper Mississippi River Bacteria TMDL. The township is also interested in continuing to coordinate with the district on Bald Eagle Lake projects, including the opportunities identified in the South Bald Eagle Lake stormwater retrofit analysis, which was completed by the Ramsey SWCD for the district. And this is included in the township CIP table, table 8, as number 11, which I have on this slide here, blocked off in orange. And the township is also a partner on the district's Bald Eagle Lake Iron Enhanced Sand Filter Project on Ramsey County Ditch 11, which was recently approved for funding by Bowser. The township will also continue to prioritize and complete stormwater infrastructure maintenance and improvement activities as funding allows. The district has approved funding for the improvements of outfalls 5 and 6 through the Urban Stormwater Remediation Cost Share Program, which was approved last year through that program, and are numbers 1 and 2 in the city, or in the township CIP table, which I have on this slide here as well. To conclude, staff find White Bear Township's local water plan to be consistent with district and state requirements. Staff recommends approval of White Bear Township's local water plan as submitted to the district on August 6th of this year. Any questions?
Any questions for Lauren? Questions, comments? Okay, then we'll need a motion. Resolution 2019-22.
Madam President, I move to approve the White Bear Township Local Water Management Plan, resolution number 2019-22, and move to adopt.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Roll call. Waller.
Yes,
Hockey.
Yes.
Bradley absent. Wagaman.
Yes.
Priner, yes. Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
again, Lauren.
Thank you again.
Okay, Nick.
Yes. President Priner, Board of Managers, now we'd like you to consider the district and mod legislative platform. Beth is here. You'll remember that the district did have conversation about this at their workshop. And Beth, did we have any changes from the workshop at all?
There were no changes requested or directed.
Okay.
So it is the same as you saw on Monday.
So you'll see that then, Board of Managers, President Priner, at the bottom of page 112 of your packet, there's two separate motions, so you can consider each item independently.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve the submittal of the proposed resolution, and it's in quote, "Mod opposition to legislation that established watershed district spending requirements by political regions or boundaries," unquote, to the Mod Resolution Committee before September 2nd, 2019, with non-substantive changes prior to submission.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Madam President, I'll be voting against this particular motion today as Washington County's representative. I feel it's a very popular and supported amongst the taxpayers of Washington County in the area, and that it's not unreasonable to assure the Washington County taxpayers receive direct benefits for their tax dollars. I think that the minimum of this legislation would authorize 90% of the money collected in Washington County through special assessments and ad valorem taxes spent on projects and programs in Washington County. And without the minimum spending and reporting requirements, Washington County taxpayers will continue to pay for maintenance of water quantity and quality services which have not been deferred for decades and decades. By deferring water quality and quantity services, the results of devalued Washington County tax base, failing to maintain the drainage infrastructure systems, or deferring the restoration has resulted in the transformation of many of our wetlands and the loss of our woodlands that are wetland woodlands, such as tamarack, birch, ash, and they've been basswood. And these have been replaced by an invasive species of cattails, narrowleaf. And so for that reason, I do not support the adoption of this motion.
Okay,
Thank you
so
very
we have a
much.
motion and second, so we'll go roll call. Waller?
No,
No.
just a moment,
Oh,
Madam Chair.
sorry.
One more, I'd like to make a
Oh,
comment.
sure. Comment.
I'd just like to comment that I support this motion, and I do so because watershed districts were formed to take care of an issue of any kind of a watershed. And since we're a watershed of a Rice Creek, we cover an area that covers 27 cities, 4 counties. We run from White Bear all the way to Forest Lake, all the way down and going in the Mississippi River by Fridley. And the idea of a watershed district is that there is no boundaries, there's no city boundaries, county boundaries, or anything else when you have a watershed. And because of that, we all in our watershed want protection of the whole watershed as a whole. And taxes are levied on the valuation of each county houses. And in mine, Ramsey County, we do provide like 52%, because that's what it is as far as our property tax goes on doing a watershed protection. There's not an opposition to that, because we understand that it has to do with water quality and flood control, and anything in that watershed benefits everybody else within the watershed. So I do not support this because, on an individual county basis,
You do support it.
I do support this,
Yes,
sorry.
yes.
Thank you. Now, see, now you pay attention to my little mistakes, too.
Well, that's a big
Anyway, I support this totally because it is something that should be done throughout the whole watershed, not on an individual county or city basis. Okay.
Thank you. Manager
Madam
Wayne.
President, I agree wholeheartedly with everything Manager Hockey just said, so I don't need to repeat it all. Plus, I think we've all given our opinion on this several times. It's pretty much well-known by now where we all stand on it, so
And we
I
have,
will be supporting.
we have moved it forward by majority throughout the years.
Yeah.
That we are opposed to this issue. Okay, so we're gonna go back to a vote. Waller,
No.
Hockey,
Yes.
Wageman,
Yes.
Bradley absent, Reiner, yes. Okay, we will move that forward.
President Priner,
Go ahead.
might I suggest that Beth just clarifies for the record what the discussion was about and stuff, because of the noted distinction
tenant?
between what Manager Waller and Manager Hockey said. So, Beth, there is a bill that exists, and that looks to do what?
So there is a bill currently that was introduced to set spending limits on the Rice Creek Watershed District based on the county's boundaries, specifically Washington County. No action was taken on either the House file or the Senate file since the initial introductions by the authors. However, they could be brought up. And it is my understanding, respectfully, Manager Waller said 90% of what would be collected in Washington County would be spent on projects and programs for the county. I would ask for some clarification, because unless the bill has been modified, I believe it only allocates funding for projects. It does not include programs. So it is my understanding that the bill would need to be changed if it would underwrite programming in Washington County. I think the way it was written was just for projects. So, I mean, that's just a point of clarification because of how we do run our budget. This resolution that we're presenting to MAUD is not does not necessarily speak directly to opposing just that legislation, but really wanting to state that MAUD will oppose any legislation that tries to kind of undermine or restrict funding based on anything other than watershed priorities. Are there any other questions?
Thank you. Excellent, Beth.
Yeah, that was-
And Madam President,
Yeah.
and-
Thank
and
you.
respectfully, I just point out that this isn't a limitation. It's a direction of where money should be spent from where it's collected. There's no limit on it. This is the base amount of money to be put in for water quality and quantity spending here. It's an exterior budget control, because interior budget controls have failed for a number of years in this particular bill. However, I do agree with you that, that while you don't specifically talk about the House Bill 2314 or Senate File 2374 named in here, and that's the direction of which you're going at. And I don't see how that limits anything. It just says that money that's collected in Washington County be spent on programs, projects, and it does say projects at the moment. I'm sure bills are always modified, though, as we know. And, for example, we'd have to modify the starting date on it already. That's another issue that hasn't been on that particular file. But nevertheless, that's the point. And I also think that this is people in Washington County, taxpayers, strongly support this legislation.
Okay, we're gonna move on to the next motion.
Pres-
Go ahead.
Yes, President Priner, the next agenda item is consideration of the office lease.
Oh, no,
Oh,
wait a minute.
I'm
We
sorry.
have a second.
If we could step back real quick and have the
Yes,
legislative, we
my
have it.
apologies.
No problem.
Yes.
The second item is, for your consideration, is the letter to MOD leadership stating our continued support of the 2018 resolution to reinforce existing rights to maintain and repair 103E drainage systems. And we would submit that along with the resolution, if approved.
Okay.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion that we approve submittal of the letter to be signed by the board president, Reiner, to support the 2018 resolution, quote, 2018-08, reinforce existing rights to maintain / repair 103E drainage systems, close quote, to MOD staff before the September 2nd, 2109, with non-substantive changes.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
I think just for the people, when we keep saying about submitting this to MAUD, that's the Minnesota Association of Watershed Districts, they hold their annual meeting the first weekend approximately in December, and these are resolutions for all the other 45 watershed districts within the state of Minnesota to consider to have passed, and it would be asking for legislation that MAUD would be carrying to give to the legislature.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Roll call. Waller.
Yes.
Hockey.
Yes.
Wakeman.
Yes.
Bradley absent. Reiner, yes. Okay,
All right. Thank you.
Now,
thank you.
President Reiner, thank you. The next item on the agenda is the office lease extension. I do note that Tom has come to the meeting here, as he's had a good deal of involvement in this. Further, point of clarity, that the district does have an inventory of its property of significant value, and we do carry property insurance. I know that was one of the things that was brought up in case there is an issue. Further, on page 120 of your packet, where there's somewhat of a table noting the monthly rent, et cetera, you'll see those extra dollar signs kind of floating in there. That's some kind of a computer-generated issue that we couldn't correct. In any event, I'll just note that that number for 11/1/21 through 10/31/2022 is $8,198.88. It's kind of blotched there.
Okay.
So that is a 9.
Thank you.
Okay.
Other than that, the lease is ready for your consideration, and a motion on page 118.
118. May make a motion?
Madam President, I move to authorize the district administrator to execute the Fifth Amendment to lease as presented with any further non-material changes and advice of counsel.
A second.
Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion?
I see that we got a pretty big jump on this, didn't we? Because our present office space lease terminates on October 31st of 2020. And is it 2020? It's not 2019? I mean, we're already working on it for a whole year and
Correct.
more, 14 months ahead of time, huh? Okay. All right.
The President Priner, as a general response, I'd just say the district has a lot of infrastructure, if you will. One, you'd have to find a different spot. We've got lots of property and a lot of computer items that would have to be managed in a move.
So we did start early.
Yeah.
Just to answer. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, now we have a new number 4.
Yes, President Priner, staff would ask for a brief discussion on permit 16107. That is a permit that's been extended, and it is held by Matamidi Public Schools for a parking reconstruction project at one of the schools. And it expires on June 15th, 2020. However, the district inspector has communicated to me that they're having problems with the project demonstrating compliance with the rules, that the built condition on site is not consistent with the plans that were approved, and it's not clear that there is treatment being obtained on the site for stormwater. Long story short, the impetus communication to the permit holder was on 11/8/2019. Did I say that backwards?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did. Excuse me, pardon me. June 15th, 2020, we said, hey, this doesn't look right. Could you please communicate to us how it
You
might
mean
be fixed?
2019?
You mean 2019? You get
June
2020
2019?
hasn't come yet.
Yeah.
You talked to him in 19.
Oh, goodness. You know what?
Let's start over.
Thank you, Louis.
Boy, I hope you're not leaving us just because there's a little slight difference in there. And then you're really sensitive.
You gone and hurt my feelings. Let's see what happened here. So,
Okay.
on your screens, you'll see this is the letter December 8th,
Good.
or December 3rd, 2018. Phil extended the permit term for this project, and Catherine, you'll see as the inspector there. So the significance there is that they have an active permit to do work on the site.
Okay.
It does not expire until June 15th of 2020.
Okay, so I have a year.
So
Okay.
there's one of the dates that I was fiddling with. I realize you won't be able to really read this, but I can communicate to you that this is our Laserfish file where we keep all the district's records. And the point here is at, and there's the other date, 11/8/2018. That's my mistake there. The text is incorrect at the bottom, so we'll just go like this. So 11/8/2018, we requested and spoke to the problem that there was an issue. Since that time, those additional lines of text are all communications out to the applicant, asking them for, please address, please get back to us, how would you like to address this? And since that time, we've had little progress moving forward. With that in mind, this is a letter that you had sent to Anoka Hennepin schools when we had a similar problem. And so what I'm asking for is if the board would authorize us to work with council to send a letter to try and get a response. We would typically send it to their attorney.
I think
Absolutely.
it's a good thing to do.
Madam President, I think that's the process. I was
Yeah.
going to suggest it as soon as I heard this anyways.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to make sure, it seems to me in the Hennepin County schools, we sent a couple different letters. So I'd like to follow the same protocol. So if you're beginning with the attorney, that's fine. But it seems to me in the end, we started to talk to the superintendent of the schools or somebody who was up the lane, chain of command. And so I suggest that you prepare to do the same.
President
Is
Preiner,
that
Manager Waller, to that point, thank you. And the reason I've brought it before you is if you were to technically read the policies that staff are to follow, it does talk about bringing folks in for a compliance hearing. Just a lot of work, a lot of staff time, et cetera. If we can short-circuit it and get a response via a letter, it's much more efficient and cost-effective for the district.
Madam President, there's adequate time to send the letters here. We're not up against the wall. We still have till mid-year, almost a year away. So, and while construction's under, it's best to do it now rather than retrofit it.
Yeah, and then I think we need a deadline time for a response.
That's reasonable, yes.
Yeah, I think we should have a deadline time because we want to make sure it doesn't go
Yeah,
too far before we
correct.
can't correct
I
it.
agree.
So,
So, President Preiner, with that, and because of the noted policy that you have adopted, I am looking for a motion to endorse staff to go ahead, work with council on a letter to include a deadline, and we'll get that out in the mail if you
Madam
consent.
Chair, I'd like to make a motion that we authorize staff to move ahead with a deadline on
a permit 16-107.
on permit 16-107 to the Matamidi School District.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Check register.
Madam President, I move to approve the check register dated August 14th, 2019, in the amount of $61,736.32, prepared by Redpath and Company.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, now we're down to our items for discussion. Anything new in engineering? Chris?
Madam President, Board of Managers, I don't have anything of particular to discuss, but as always, I can answer any questions you may have.
Okay, anybody have questions for the engineer? If not, we'll go to the manager's update. Oh.
Whenever appropriate, I'd like to make a comment.
Okay,
Well,
go ahead.
Good. Okay, me
Go ahead
first?
first before we start the managers.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you, President Preiner. Board of Managers, I just wanted to give you an update that the City of Mounds View Administrator had contacted me. He was seeking to have discussion regarding their stormwater BMPs
Marine
that
gardens.
are involved with their road reconstruction project. I did respond to him asking for additional detail as to the content of what he would like to discuss, because anything, we would like to make sure the board is apprised of any factual matters about the permits or the policies that you've adopted and that sort of thing, in order to have a good discussion. I suggested he could do that in a letter or otherwise. I didn't hear a response, so I did send it to him again and say, hey, any questions, we're happy to discuss. So just to
Okay.
keep you up to date. Hopefully we'll hear from him and we'll bring him to a workshop or whatever the case
It
is.
would be nice to know ahead of time what the issues are so we can prepare.
Yeah.
Well,
We'll know where we're at with it, sure.
it's always
Yeah.
good to have an agenda if you're gonna have a
Very good,
conversation.
Nick.
Yeah.
That's the right way.
And then beyond that, one other thing, I'll note that engineering and staff, Chris and myself did meet with Forest Lake staff and engineer, looking at some planning for the JD4 area, the southwest portion of the city of Forest Lake. They're looking at stormwater planning, our ditches there, and we're working with them to look at what a project might appear like, or the scope, and we'll bring that back to you at a future workshop if it materializes.
Okay,
That's all I have.
thank you, Nick. Anybody else? We'll go ahead.
Yeah, Madam Chair.
Yeah.
I'd like to, perhaps on the next workshop, just to give a heads up, is to have us consider where we have and hold our meetings. I would not mind seeing some of our regular meetings being held right at our Blaine office. We've got quite an extensive setup now on being able to communicate electronically, and it can be used by our engineers, our legal team, anybody, anywhere within the district if they need to communicate with us. And I just thought that maybe that would facilitate a good place to have our board meetings, since we only really saw staff at today's meeting. And many times, when we have any public here, I don't think we've had more than 8-10 people, and I know we can get them into our boardroom. But also that when we have public meetings that are just informational meetings regarding, some ditches, clean out, something to do with sub-watershed districts, we usually hold it within an area of that particular district, either at a city hall within Hugo or Columbus or wherever it is. And they are not televised anyway, and they're informational gathering for legal and engineering and us, and no action is taken at them. So we can continue, because that's where we really get our our interested
Crowd of one or two.
citizens. And so anyway, if we could just on the workshop discuss that sometime.
Do you
and
have
maybe
any
the next one.
information you'd like brought to that meeting for the discussion?
I think maybe Nick might have pulled something together already. I just want to know what our rent was here for each meeting, but that can be given then too.
Yes, President Preiner, I did pull that information. Whoops. President Preiner, yes, I did pull that information. I can share it
Sure.
at the workshop time.
At the workshop, we'll go through that.
Okay.
And also maybe at the same time, don't, really belabor the thing as to what kind of crowds we really get at any of our meetings. Like I said, I think it usually is somewhere in that 8 to 10 if we do have anything where people come.
I think as part of that discussion then too, we need to know what the contract is for this facility. You know, is it long-term, month-to-month, or whatever it is? So that we,
That's a good thing,
so that we would know what we were talking in time frame if we change anything.
yeah, if we change anything.
Okay, anything else? Manager Waller?
Nope.
I don't have anything new, so we'll need a motion.
I make a motion that we adjourn.
Second?
Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.